In the complex web of global trade, one unintended consequence often begets another. When the United States imposed tariffs on both Mexico and China, the goal was straightforward: to protect domestic industries and reduce trade deficits. Yet, the result has been far less predictable. Instead of isolating these economies, the tariffs have pushed them toward each other, creating a partnership that could reshape North American trade dynamics. Consider this. In 2023 alone, U.S. tariffs affected over $450 billion worth of Chinese goods and $360 billion of Mexican exports. These punitive measures incentivized both nations to explore alternatives, and they found common ground in mutual trade. According to the Mexican Ministry of Economy, bilateral trade with China surged to $100.2 billion in 2024, marking a 16% year-over-year increase. Such growth cannot be dismissed as coincidental. It signals a deeper alignment against U.S. economic aggression. But what does this mean for American workers and industries? Could these very policies, meant to strengthen U.S. dominance, be laying the foundation for a counterweight alliance? Let's continue. At a time when geopolitical tensions have left investors wary, Mexico has taken a bold approach. President Andrés Manuel López Obrador's administration has actively reassured Chinese businesses of Mexico's stability and openness to foreign investment, even as the U.S. pressures its southern neighbor to distance itself from Beijing. In 2024, Mexico held high-level economic talks with Chinese representatives in Guadalajara, securing over $15 billion in commitments for infrastructure, clean energy, and technology projects. Finance Minister Rogelio Ramírez de la O emphasized that Mexico will not close its doors to opportunities that benefit its people, a thinly veiled response to Washington's calls for caution. U.S. officials, meanwhile, warn of the political risks of closer ties with China. But Mexico's pragmatism speaks volumes. With Chinese companies employing over 250,000 Mexicans in sectors ranging from manufacturing to logistics, they have not only created jobs but also transformed lives in local communities. For example, workers at BYD's EV plants in Nuevo León report higher wages and access to skill enhancement programs. Juan Martinez, a line supervisor at the Nuevo León plant, noted, "This job has allowed me to provide a better education for my children and learn skills I never imagined I'd have." While Huawei's tech hubs in Mexico City provide opportunities for young professionals to enter the growing tech industry, the economic incentives to maintain strong ties are undeniable. The question remains, how far is Mexico willing to go to protect these investments, and at what cost? China, ever the strategic player, has turned Mexico into a conduit for circumventing U.S. tariffs. By leveraging Mexico's participation in the USMCA, United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, Chinese companies can assemble goods in Mexico and export them to the U.S. under reduced tariff rates. In 2023, China's investments in Mexican manufacturing zones, particularly in Nuevo León and Baja California, reached $9.7 billion. Analysts point out that this tactic has allowed Chinese goods, from electronics to automotive components, to enter U.S. markets without the full brunt of tariffs. Moreover, Mexico's skilled workforce and proximity to the U.S. make it an ideal partner. Yet this strategy is not without controversy. U.S. trade representatives have flagged several Mexican exporters for allegedly violating rules of origin. If tensions escalate, could this loophole provoke stricter enforcement measures, or will Mexico's economic benefits outweigh the risks? Numbers rarely lie, and the $100.2 billion trade milestone between Mexico and China tells a story of deepening economic interdependence. Over the past decade, China has climbed to become Mexico's second-largest trading partner, trailing only the United States. According to the China Council for the Promotion of International Trade, Exports of Chinese machinery, electronics, and raw materials to Mexico surged by 22% in 2024. Meanwhile, Mexican exports of agricultural products, including avocados and beef, have gained significant traction in Chinese markets. This growing trade volume indicates a calculated pivot by both nations. For Mexico, China represents a hedge against over-reliance on the U.S. market. For China, Mexico is a strategic gateway to North America. The question remains, how sustainable is this relationship in the face of mounting geopolitical challenges? The rapid rise of electric vehicle production in Mexico has become a cornerstone of its economic transformation. Chinese EV manufacturers, including BYD and NIO, have invested heavily in Mexican production facilities, totaling $4.8 billion in 2024 alone. These investments are reshaping the nation's industrial landscape. Consider the numbers. Mexico's EV exports increased by 35% last year, driven largely by Chinese partnerships. Additionally, Chinese tech giants like Huawei and Tencent have established research centers in Mexico City, creating thousands of high-paying jobs and boosting local innovation. But there's a double-edged sword. While these developments bring economic growth, critics warn of dependency on Chinese technology. Could this leave Mexico vulnerable to external influence, or will it solidify its position as a global manufacturing hub? Abandoning China might seem like a straightforward demand from the U.S., but the economic calculus tells a different story. Trade with China accounts for nearly 10% of Mexico's GDP, reflecting both a strategic diversification effort and a critical interdependence that has reshaped Mexico's trade landscape amid shifting global alliances. Reflecting its critical role as Mexico's second-largest trading partner and a key player in its diversification strategy away from over-reliance on the United States. A testament to the nation's growing economic reliance on its second-largest trading partner. This dependence intertwines with Mexico's diversification strategy, reflecting its attempts to balance U.S. reliance with emerging opportunities in China's vast markets, a figure that has steadily risen over the last decade. A sudden pivot away from China would jeopardize billions in infrastructure projects, tech partnerships, and agricultural exports. According to economist Gabriela Siller, cutting ties with China would be akin to economic self-sabotage for Mexico, given its current level of dependence. Yet Mexico also faces the risk of alienating its largest trading partner, the United States. Is there a middle ground, or will Mexico be forced to pick a side in this escalating economic rivalry? In recent years, rising labor costs and stricter labor laws have prompted several U.S. companies to scale back operations in Mexico. In their place, Chinese firms have stepped in, seizing the opportunity to expand their footprint. For instance, in 2023, Foxconn relocated several production lines for consumer electronics to Mexico, creating over 10,000 jobs. Similarly, Chinese textile manufacturers have established factories in Puebla and Guanajuato, bolstering local economies. This shift raises critical questions about long-term implications. Will China's dominance in these sectors strengthen Mexico's economy, or could it lead to an over-reliance on a single partner? The de minimis rule, which exempts low-value imports from tariffs, has become a linchpin in U.S. Mexico-China trade dynamics. By routing products through Mexico, Chinese exporters can take advantage of this loophole, flooding the U.S. market with low-cost goods. According to the Peterson Institute for International Economics 2023 report, over $12 billion worth of Chinese goods entered the U.S. through de minimis shipments in 2023, a significant portion of which originated in Mexico. This tactic has drawn sharp criticism from U.S. lawmakers, who argue that it undermines domestic industries. How long can this loophole remain open, and what might its closure mean for Mexico's burgeoning role as a trade intermediary? The fallout could be dramatic. A collapse in trade partnerships, shifts in regional alliances, or a supply chain recalibration that challenges Mexico's growing influence in North American commerce. The closure could lead to significant trade slowdowns, disrupt supply chains, and force Mexico to renegotiate its position in regional and global markets. Such a shift might also heighten tensions between Mexico and its trade partners, particularly the United States and China. If the U.S. were to tighten restrictions, Mexico could face significant trade slowdowns and disruptions in its supply chain strategies, forcing it to adapt or risk losing its position as a key conduit for global commerce. China's efforts to internationalize the yuan RMB are creating ripples in global trade. In 2024, nearly 12% of Mexico's trade with China was conducted in RMB, up from just 2% 5 years ago. This shift aligns with China's broader strategy to reduce dependence on the US dollar. For Mexico, the adoption of RMB offers reduced transaction costs and a hedge against currency volatility. However, this trend also signals a potential challenge to the dollar-dominated trade system. Could this growing reliance on RMB further strain U.S. Mexico-China relations? And why is China buying up gold? China's recent gold purchases have caught global attention. In 2024, the People's Bank of China increased its gold reserves by 8%, while simultaneously reducing U.S. Treasury holdings by $34 billion. Experts suggest this move reflects China's strategy to insulate itself from potential U.S. financial sanctions. According to Zhang Wei, an economist at Tsinghua University, gold offers a stable store of value in uncertain times, and China is preparing for a future where financial decoupling from the U.S. becomes inevitable. What lessons can Mexico draw from this strategy, and how might it influence its own monetary policies? Mexico's integration into China's supply chains has unlocked significant benefits. In 2024, Mexican exports linked to Chinese demand, including electronics and agricultural goods, grew by 18%, contributing to a GDP increase of 1.2%. Beyond trade, Chinese infrastructure projects in Mexico, from railways to renewable energy plants, are driving long-term development. However, this partnership also raises questions about sovereignty and economic independence. Will Mexico's benefits outweigh potential risks, or is it walking a tightrope between opportunity and dependency? The future may hinge on how Mexico navigates this precarious balance. If it continues to deepen its economic ties with China, it could unlock unprecedented growth and diversification. Yet, this path is fraught with potential challenges. Escalating U.S. pressure, dependency on Chinese investments, and the risk of losing its autonomy in trade policy. As Mexico strides forward, will it emerge as a resilient bridge between two economic superpowers, or could this gamble reshape its role in the global order entirely? Ironically, U.S. tariffs intended to weaken both Mexico and China may be doing the opposite. By pushing these nations closer together, the U.S. risks creating a bloc that undermines its economic leverage. In a 2024 report, the Brookings Institution highlighted how joint Mexico-China ventures have expanded, from manufacturing to digital infrastructure. The question for Washington is clear. How can it navigate this evolving alliance without eroding its own influence? Mexico's growing alignment with China offers undeniable rewards: economic diversification, job creation, and technological advancement. Yet it also comes with risks. Dependence on Chinese investments could limit Mexico's policy flexibility, while U.S. retaliation remains a looming threat. As the world watches this partnership unfold, Mexico's choices will offer a glimpse into the future of global trade alliances. Can it strike a balance, or will the shifting sands of geopolitics force its hand? At its core, Mexico's deepening ties with China highlight a broader trend: the decentralization of global trade. As emerging economies forge new alliances, the old world order faces unprecedented challenges. The implications are vast. Will this herald a more multipolar trade system, or will it deepen divisions between economic powerhouses? As Mexico's story unfolds, it offers a case study in resilience, pragmatism, and the shifting tides of global commerce. We're glad you're enjoying this video. Please like and subscribe. Check out another video that is now on your screen.